What's up, Taiwan? I'm Sandy Shi with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taipei is gearing up for one of its biggest showcases of military power and innovation, this year's Aerospace and Defense Tech Expo. On display, cutting-edge weapons made in Taiwan, alongside new collaborations with international partners. Alan Liu takes us inside for a first look.
China is continuing to send military aircraft around Taiwan. Taiwan's defense ministry says it tracked more than 30 Chinese warplanes in the 24 hours up to Wednesday morning, with 26 crossing into the country's air defense identification zone. It's a daily example of Beijing's gray zone tactics aimed at wearing down Taiwan's defenses. But Taiwan isn't standing still. In recent years, it has been stepping up production and purchases of advanced weapons to counter China's growing threats. And some of those weapon systems will be on display at this year's Taipei Defense Exhibition, starting Thursday.
透过这个整个展览，我们也希望把我们军工民营整合，发挥这个军事产业的军工产业的整体合作力量这个部分来做一个展现，来呈现我们有一个非常扎实的民主的产业供应链这样的一个原则。
One key element Taiwan is highlighting is its unmanned system capabilities. For example, this reconnaissance tactical wheel vehicle was developed in Taiwan. It is built for all terrains, equipped with unmanned systems, and can be armed, giving it both surveillance and attack functions.
除了征收之外，那它可以视状况，然后来打击，执行打击的任务。那当然，无人机它还可以执行这个通讯中继，也可以摇导控去控制它到底现在它要打哪里。
Another spotlight is on aerial drones. Taiwan has been working with the U.S. on drone innovation. And together, they've developed this high-speed attack drone designed to carry out joint missions more effectively.
我们为什么要找台美合作的一个最主要的关键，重点要透过这一次展览，吸引更多的厂商来共同开发这一款无人机，降低所有的成本。
Last week, China's military released a new song, set against street scenes of Taipei, to rally morale for the prospects of unification. In response to Beijing's growing mix of propaganda and military pressure, Taiwan is working to demonstrate its resolve. This week's defense exhibition is one way the country is showcasing its capabilities and its determination to defend itself. Justin Wu and Alan Liu for TaiwanPlus.
Key figures behind a guidebook for using AI in government are in Taipei for the release of its Chinese language version.
It has to be governed by democratic institutions. And the only way that can happen is if the democratic institutions keep up. And the example of countries like the US and Taiwan and other places incorporating these technologies into their systems is absolutely essential for the continued functioning of democracy in a world that's going to change very rapidly in the next few decades.
Marcy Harris was one of the several non-profit group reps speaking at an event in Taipei's legislature. She co-authored Guidelines for AI in Parliaments, which highlights the importance of technology in democracy and outlines principles and data management for the use of AI. Both DPP and KMT lawmakers say they're open to embracing the guidelines and that they're already using AI.
在国会里面运用所谓的声音复制的技术，让暂时没有办法发出声音的立法委员跟我们的行政院院长来共同做一个互相的质询跟答询哈。其实可以说是非常骄傲的，因为当初不管是韩院长，或者是行政院长卓荣泰卓院长，还有议事人员呢，都非常拥抱 AI 这个创新的科技。
Taiwan last month passed an AI draft bill to lay down principles for AI development and regulation. U.S. President Donald Trump says a deal may be in place to keep TikTok running in America. While the exact terms are not yet public, it could end a years-long saga over the fate of the Chinese-owned social media app. Chris Gorin reports.
It's been a long road for the short-form video app TikTok in the United States. But after years of back and forth, President Donald Trump says an American buyer has been found for the U.S. operations of the Chinese social media platform.
We have a deal on TikTok. I've reached a deal with China. I'm going to speak to President Xi on Friday to confirm everything up. We made a very good trade deal, and I hope good for both countries, but a very different deal than they'd made in the past.
Trump's comments come after days of talks between U.S. and Chinese officials in Madrid, where a framework deal was also acknowledged by the Chinese side. Reports suggest an investor group led by U.S. tech company Oracle, along with Silver Lake and Andreessen Horowitz, could hold about 80%, with TikTok owner ByteDance retaining roughly 20%. TikTok currently already routes all its U.S. traffic through Oracle's cloud infrastructure. Trump issued an executive order for the third time on Tuesday, delaying a ban on the app for another 90 days. It's the latest chapter in a years-long saga, from when Trump first pushed to force a sale in 2020, citing national security and data concerns, contentious congressional hearings, and a Supreme Court ruling upholding a potential ban on the app. But Trump grew to like TikTok, saying it helped him win the 2024 presidential election.
We'll take a look at TikTok. You know, I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok because I won youth by 34 points. And there are those that say that TikTok had something to do with that.
But big questions remain. Will ByteDance sell its content recommendation algorithm, which is considered the most valuable part of the platform? Will the deal satisfy U.S. legal requirements? China says it will review TikTok's technology exports and intellectual property licensing, but full details of the agreement have not been officially released, and it's the fine print that may determine what lies ahead for the Chinese app. Chris Ma and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Palau, one of Taiwan's last remaining diplomatic allies in the Pacific, is raising the alarm over Chinese pressure, a move that's prompted the U.S. to reaffirm its support. Cadence Carranza reports.
Palau, a small island nation in the Pacific, has for years faced pressure from China. And recently, its president reportedly said the countries were, quote, already at war. Palau is of strategic importance to China. It's a key part of the second island chain, a string of islands in the Western Pacific where the U.S. is trying to curb Chinese influence. And it's one of Taiwan's few remaining diplomatic allies, despite pressure from China to cut ties with Taipei in favor of Beijing. Palauan President Serangal Whips Jr. says China has weaponized tourism and illegally sent vessels into its waters to pressure the country. And he believes a pattern of organized crime involving Chinese nationals may be part of China's attempts to intimidate the country.
We definitely see an uptick in organized crime coming into Palau, whether it's the online gaming operations. We've had a record number of drug busts at the airport of Chinese nationals bringing in drugs. These are all issues, I think, that help weaken us as a nation.
In a statement, Taiwan's foreign ministry condemned China's use of big money diplomacy to infiltrate Pacific Island nations and extend its influence, and said its actions threaten security and stability in the region. As Palau sounds alarm bells about China's threats, the U.S. reaffirmed its commitment to Pacific Island nations at a meeting in Papua New Guinea and in a statement highlighting plans to drive economic growth in the region, including investments in digital connectivity and undersea cables, areas Taiwan has also been putting in resources. This all comes at a time when Australia, the U.S., and other nations are competing with China for influence in the region. In recent years, several of Taiwan's former allies in the Pacific have switched diplomatic recognition to China. And reports emerged that Beijing played a part in the Solomon Islands' decision to exclude Taiwan and other partners from this year's Pacific Islands Forum. But there's also some signs of resistance. Fellow Pacific Island nation Papua New Guinea and Australia agreeing on the text of a mutual defense treaty that aims to cut Beijing's influence.
This is in the interests of Papua New Guinea and in the interests of Australia. And that is why this is a historic move forward. We, of course, cooperate all of the time across the board. What this does is formalise what I think is a common sense position, resulting from our history and resulting from our geography.
China has yet to respond to Whip's statement about war, and the impact on relations with both sides is still uncertain. But it is clear that Palau and other Pacific Island nations remain an area of interest for major countries vying for power in the region. Dolphine Chen and Cadence Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
For more on how Palau and Taiwan have maintained strong diplomatic ties in the face of increasing Chinese pressure, our news program Taiwan Talks sat down with Cleo Pascal from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, Raymond Sung from the Prospect Foundation, and Liu Dehai from the National Zhengzhi University College of International Affairs.
In April, Palauan President Serangoon Wipps Jr. pledged unwavering support for Taiwan, vowing to maintain ties until death. It's a sentiment he has repeated over the course of his presidency. He said, "We do know that China has one goal, and that is for us to renounce Taiwan. That decision is a sovereign decision, and no country tells us who we should be friends with." I guess we kind of believe in that principle that when you're married until death do us part. Raymond, let me come to you. So, in your view, what is the basis of this very strong relationship?
Of course, the diplomatic relations between Taiwan and Palau goes a long way. So the historical roots and friendship are there. And also the tangible assistance rendered by Taiwan quite generally to the Palau is also being well received in Palau. Of course, we see that in our president, the first after his inauguration, the first overseas trip is to the Pacific Islands, and including Palau. Then the Taiwan opened up its Center for Distant Medical Center for Palau, which is essential for that populations scattered around the islands. And also over the years, and including agricultural, medical, health care, and also to tackle climate change, also about assistance in the technology to detect illegal fishings. Taiwan has done a lot to help Palau. So it's based on friendship, it's based on shared values, based on shared strategic goals, also on tangible assistance rendered by Taiwan.
What I want to add is the education is another important part, because Taiwan's semiconductor, AI, medical science, many other things. We can make a lot of contribution for Palau if the students come to Taiwan and learn quite a lot. And then, of course, tourism is another very important industry for two of us to work together.
Cleo, just bringing you back in. So we heard what the president had said in April, and he had said that China has one goal, to make Palau renounce Taiwan. Why does it want this so much?
If you don't have a Chinese embassy in a country, that gives you a layer of protection, because the Chinese embassies can operate like forward operating locations for espionage and influence operations. So Palau, because it doesn't have a Chinese embassy, that gives it a layer of protection. Also, it does have a close relationship with the U.S. And for example, there's an over-the-horizon radar installation that's being built on one of the islands. And if there is an attack on Taiwan, God forbid, then Palau would probably be hit just before that in order to be able to disable U.S. abilities to see what's going on. And that's something that's worth bearing in mind. Often, I think people in Taiwan don't understand how these countries, especially a country like Palau, they're knowingly putting their lives on the line for democracy and freedom for all of the peoples of the Pacific, including the people of Taiwan.
You can watch that full episode and other Taiwan Talks discussions on the TaiwanPlus website and YouTube. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of kite surfers in the Netherlands battling wild winds in a high-stakes competition. I'm Sanichi. Take care and see you next time.